Support for Starting Small comes from Human Scale, the leading designer and manufacturer of high-performance ergonomic products that help create a healthier work life. All of the products from chairs to standing desk and more are comfortable, easy to use, and sustainable, and great for either the office or the work-from-home environment. With an increase in shifting workplaces, comfort can be especially hard to find. As I run the podcast, I'm in front of my desk for hours a day, from scheduling, researching, interviewing, and more. Human Scale allows me to remain productive without the consequence of body stress to follow. Make sure to check out Human Scale at humanscale.com and use code StartingSmall at checkout to save 20% off your purchase. That's code StartingSmall at humanscale.com, and enjoy the episode. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small, a podcast about brand development, entrepreneurship, and innovation in the modern world. In this episode, I'm joined by Billy Bosch, founder of Iconic, premium grass-fed protein drinks. At a young age, Billy was diagnosed with chronic health issues due to a poor diet. After consulting with his doctor, he was advised to take a pill. Not interested in that, Billy sought a nutritionist who led him towards a holistic diet, which ultimately led him to creating Iconic as it is today. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today I'm joined by Billy Bosch of Iconic Protein. Billy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Man, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I want to start out with your upbringing. So where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
Well, Cameron, I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and
Nice.
had a great upbringing, honestly, man. I kind of grew up in the suburbs. I'm the oldest of three, so a younger brother and sister, and we're all pretty close. And, a lot of my time was spent like going to summer day camps, went to, like a small private school growing up. And a lot of my time was spent outdoors. We had woods behind our house, and my parents were pretty generous with letting us go play in the woods. And as long as we were home by dark, we wouldn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So we knew we could get home and ride bikes around the neighborhood, cause some trouble here and there. But that was a lot of the childhood, played sports, all that fun stuff.
Nice. Growing up, would you say that you had an entrepreneurship mindset, say lemonade stands or selling products or anything like that?
I wasn't much of a lemonade drinker, Cameron, but I
Okay.
definitely was into cutting grass. I don't know why I loved cutting grass so much, but I was like a grass cutting machine. I just picked up a few yards on our street. My parents would, pay me an allowance to cut our grass, and I actually really enjoyed it. There's something really gratifying about seeing an overgrown lawn in South Louisiana where it rains every other day and the grass just grows like a weed. And you
Yeah.
go in, and it's like giving somebody a fresh haircut. You go in, cut the grass, got that nice smell, you edge, you blow, you get everything pristine, and there's just gratification around that. Obviously, it's pretty sweaty in the summer, but
For
I
sure.
enjoyed it, and I thought making money was really cool.
Amazing. Was that on like a push mower or a rider?
That
Was that
was
on?
I had a push mower for a bit at home that my dad had, an old Toro, and then eventually I think we upgraded to one of the self-propelled ones. So it was still like a kind of a handheld one,
Mhm.
and it was a small bag, so you'd have to empty it a lot, all that kind of stuff. And actually, my brother, who's 9 years younger, continued the legacy and really went up to me because he came in and got one of those fancy riding lawnmowers that like
Yeah.
turns on a dime. I was like, wait, I should have gotten that. That looks awesome. It would have cut my time. He's like, oh yeah, man, I could do yard in 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm
Wow.
like hour and a half on a yard, but it was fun.
That's awesome. So I saw you went to LSU in 2001. What did you study there?
Go Tigers. Yep, I did. And I studied business management with a concentration in HR. And it's funny because you always hear people say, oh, I never even used my degree. It's worthless. And
Mhm.
I would counter that for with I've
Yeah,
definitely used my degree. I didn't think I was going to right when I got out of school with my first few jobs, but it's come in handy. I will say most of the learning for me has not really come from what I picked up in college. The degree is kind of a check the box to get jobs in my
yeah,
mind. I learned most of what I know just working for other business owners and starting this business and running it.
for sure. With your time there, were you involved with any athletics or clubs?
On campus, I was in a fraternity. I was pretty active on that side of campus life. and joined one where I didn't know a single person. I went to school in Baton Rouge, was from Baton Rouge, so I did not see the appeal of the group system, but LSU's got a pretty big one, and I found a group that happened to be people from every other place besides Baton Rouge, and I thought it'd be cool to just kind of get to know other people rather than just kind of hang out with my same high school clique into college, which I'm still friends with. But it was cool to kind of diversify your friend group and make friends with people from all over the U.S.
For sure. Following college and prior to Iconic then, what kind of jobs were you working?
Oh gosh, quite a diversity. It started in college, and when I was in
Okay.
college, I actually put together and promoted ski trips. And
Mm.
I've got a guy that is still a good friend of mine and mentor, Steve Smolinski, that runs this really large company that puts together college ski trips and spring break trips. And I went on one of these, never seen snow, right? Except for maybe one time growing up. And I went on one when I was 18 I think as a freshman in college. Loved it. Had a great time in Breckenridge, Colorado. Thought this was like the greatest thing in the world, and asked if I could help organize my fraternity the next year. And he said sure. And then I got involved in that, and then organizing it for the whole campus, and that led into some work with him after school when I got out
Mm.
of college, but also just really enjoyed. I mean, these trips grew until I think it's like 2,000 people now that go from LSU. It's like one of the largest ski trips
Wow.
in the country, and it's a whole week of events. And then outside of that, I worked in the service industry, worked at a restaurant. My dad's a CPA, so he had a bunch of clients. Growing up, I worked for all of his clients. One had a furniture store. One had a Christmas store where they sell ornaments all year round. One had a
Yeah.
construction company. One had a restaurant. This guy from Italy had all these restaurants. And so I really kind of got the feel of like entrepreneurship is always a reality for me because like everybody I grew up working for was an entrepreneur. So I didn't think that was some like hurdle. That was just how the world worked. So
Mm.
those were all the jobs in college and out. And then when I got out of college, I actually got into working for Homeland Security, funny enough, because remember, this is like not too long after 9/11. I'm
Yeah.
feeling really patriotic, want to do something for my country. So I applied to a few different government agencies, scored a job in Baton Rouge for an agency that trains first responders on how to respond to biological terrorism incidents, and worked in kind of like marketing their courses and putting that together and whatnot, and enjoyed it.
Mm.
And then I got chained to a desk for a bit and kind of lost interest in it because the first part of the job I was kind of out at trade shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, then I went and worked in oil and gas for about 5 years, and enjoyed getting to know consumer product industry. Got some experience calling on big retail chains, some mom and pop chains as well. Really got formally trained in sales, and great company. Learned a lot, made some money, and while I was there, that not entrepreneurial itch started to come back, and I
Yeah.
wound up starting a small company, kind of a side hustle while there, throwing New Year's parties every year. Because I just got tired of riding around New Orleans looking for a party on New Year's. And so a buddy of mine and I decided we'd throw our own party and we'd make it part philanthropy for Muscular Dystrophy Association. And, we thought 10, 20 of our friends would show up. Well, 300 people signed up to come. So we
Wow.
wound up throwing a large party. And that company went about 8 years, and it grew to about a 2,000 person New Year's party in New Orleans. So that was pretty fun. And
Wow.
part of that actually seed funded Iconic. And all the while of doing that, I actually started invested into multifamily real estate in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and grew that with a good friend of mine from high school. Um, and that's a few different apartment buildings now that we've grown, and he operates that business. And once I started, I had the New Year's party going, have the real estate, then I had the idea for Iconic, and I was like, yeah, I think I'll just
Man.
quit now and go
So
do all these things. So that was
yeah.
my impetus to go do this full time.
So for example, for these New Year's parties, being once a year, how would you monetize and like live off of the business model that you created for this?
Well, Cameron, it's funny because I wanted to do that because I had a blast doing it. And this was kind of leveraging my experience putting together and helping organize these college ski trips because it was really more than a ski trip. It'd be a whole week of parties and events and bar crawls and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
said, okay, like, I could throw a New Year's party in my sleep. It's only one night. And we did that. And you can make money. The challenge is most of the money goes to the venue because you're
Yeah.
paying them for alcohol and the space. So there's 50% if you're, let's say you're charging $100 a ticket, $50 of it's going for that at minimum. Then you've got
Yeah.
ticket processing fees and entertainment you're booking and everything else. So the margins aren't great on those types of events typically. And
Hmm.
so we said, okay, how can we expand into other events? And so we tried out doing events. We did a Fourth Fest kind of style weekend event in Austin for a couple of years, which was like renting out a party barge and doing, a bar crawl and having some other events.
Hmm.
And I also realized these are pretty high liability events.
Yeah, for
there's,
sure.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
partying going on, and while they're a ton of fun, it's challenging to kind of sustain that like rhythm of like, okay, we're gonna have events all year and we're gonna make a business out of this. So it really remained a side hustle where we said, okay, let's just have fun with this. We'll throw one really awesome event each year, and then we wound up, you get into your 30s, and most of the people go into a New Year's party that costs $100 to $200, and you can have all you can drink. It's typically people that are like in their, I would say, early to mid 20s. So you
Hmm.
start to kind of lose touch with that, with the people going to the events, and then I kind of lost interest in doing it, and so did my partner. So we shut it down, but we had a fun
Okay.
time doing it.
Yeah, for sure. So, Iconic Protein came around 2011. What
Mhm.
inspired you to create Iconic and move into the CPG space?
Yeah, I mean, I have no business running a nutrition brand. I just had a challenge personally. I mean, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it started with a problem, right? I had some health issues. I was living in New Orleans and
Hmm.
going back and forth between there and Texas for work. And New Orleans and Texas aren't really known for healthy food, we'll say.
Yeah.
We agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
the food is so tasty though, right? Barbecue, Tex-Mex, Cajun food, fried seafood, boiled seafood, broiled seafood, everything. And I ate it all. I was working out a good bit. I've always worked out. I've enjoyed going to the gym since I was about 15 years old. And I would go, just eat mountains of food, for work events or whatever, and just wasn't really paying attention to what goes into my body. And I thought, hey, I work out once or twice a day. I'll be fine. I can eat whatever I want. Well, that turned into chronic acid reflux, high cholesterol, just like a lot of other issues. And anyway, go to a
Hmm.
doctor. The doctor, typical doctor in the U.S. prescribes me some medication and says, "Hey, take a couple pills every day, and definitely you should be fine. This will clear it up." I said, "Okay, I don't want to take pills every day."
Yeah.
Went to a dietitian who said, "Hey, look, you just need to clean up your diet. You need to basically increase your protein and fiber intake because that's going to do two things: increase your metabolism as well as fill you up and provide satiety throughout the day." And I said, "What will you recommend?" And she said, "I wouldn't recommend anything because it's all got junk in it." And I said, "Well, why don't you just help me create a drink?" And she said, "Well, who are you anyway?" And that was
Yeah.
the kind of the genesis of Iconic. And I said,
Wow.
"Okay, well, why don't you come on as a consultant and help kind of design this product with me?" And really, it was just like, I don't know, I was so naive. I thought, how hard can this be, and how long will this take? Well, it's taken me 9 years. I thought it would take me a year or two, honestly.
Yeah. So, what did the prototyping process look like when you brought her on?
Oh man. Well, it started out with just a handwritten formula of like, okay, let's buy every other drink out there and see what's wrong with it. And a
Hmm.
lot of it has these drinks, artificial sweeteners, artificial ingredients linked to cancer and other bad things, and
Yeah.
just great stuff. And so we said, okay, like let's do something high in protein, high in fiber, generally little to no sugar, additional functionality as well, some vitamins and other nutrients, and really just like a better protein drink that serves as like a breakfast or a snack during the day was the idea.
Hmm.
And we designed that drink and started kind of like working out the formula. Then I went and found a food scientist because I realized, okay, if this is going to be ready to drink, because I wanted it to be convenient. I mean, there's a lot of powders out there, but powder's not all that convenient at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the food scientist helped kind of put it together and make sure it wasn't going to turn into sludge once we poured it into a bottle. And then I had to go and find a co-packer. And I'll tell you, Cameron, that was like those are some of the hardest times of this business. Was the first couple of years of figuring out how to make it, where to make it, where to come up with the packaging, where to come up with the funding for that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a solid 2 years of just, figuring that out.
So at this time, then, what was the first product that you launched? Was it one flavor or was it a line?
It was actually one flavor.
Okay.
I did a test run of our chocolate truffle flavor. And it's funny, actually, the first flavor we designed was a dark chocolate raspberry. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be great. Right. And I thought it
Hmm.
tasted amazing. And it was just different than anything out there. The problem is that when I started handing out samples to people, people said, I don't know about this. Like, I like that it's chocolate, but I don't love the other fruit flavor. Well, it's raspberry. Oh, I don't like raspberry. I like blueberry. So you get people
Mm.
that are split on what they like and don't like and how maybe they like raspberry but not chocolate. So anyway, it's okay. I get it. We need to do a chocolate. There's a
Yeah.
reason that's the number one flavor in this category. So we said, okay, let's do a really good chocolate. And then I ran it into some Tetra Pak packaging. So just like the little drink boxes you see out there. The problem was that the first production run they generally do for you, they'll do a small run, which for a facility as small as 10,000 bottles of this stuff, right? And it's
Hmm.
all in white packaging. And it's okay, like, what do I do now? And they're like, well, now you'll go print a bunch of packaging and you'll run 100,000 cases. I mean, well, like, I've never
Wow.
even sold any of this. Like, come on, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So I went and said, okay, let me get creative. Well, I decided I was going to hand label these 10,000 bottles with a clothes steamer and a shrink sleeve. Uh,
Wow.
so that was the first 10,000 bottles sold and sampled. And I enlisted the help of interns, and I was at an incubator in New Orleans called the New Orleans Bioinnovation Center, and their staff all volunteered to kind of help out. And so we had this whole assembly line of people with clothes steamers, like steaming on labels to these bottles. And then I was
Wow.
hand delivering it to the back of grocery stores that had talked into carrying it and some other stores in New Orleans. And that's how we really got going.
Wow. So at this time with this kind of $10,000 first launch, did you acquire funding for production and in what form of investment?
It was a real mix. I had put some money in from my other company, the entertainment company where we threw New Year's parties and kind of saw that sunsetting. So I pulled some money out of that,
Hmm.
put some of that as seed funding as kind of my personal funds into this business of Iconic, and then went out and found some money. I said, okay, I don't think a bank's going to give me money for this. So what else can I do? At the time, New Orleans had a number of business plan competitions that had prize money attached to them. So I was able to, after bombing in the first couple, and of course being petrified of public speaking, I just got over it because I wanted to see if this thing had legs. And I was able to score a win at the Tulane business plan competition for $50,000 cash, where they give you one of
Wow.
these publishers clearinghouse checks. And then I won a couple more, one for I think another 50,000 of cash and services for Jefferson Parish, which is outside of New Orleans, and then one for 20,000. So kind of picked up some money doing that. Call it
Wow.
150,000 in business plan competitions and whatnot. And then I went and found a low interest loan program through this innovation center, this kind of incubator I was in, the New Orleans Bioinnovation Center, and that was $250,000, and I personally guaranteed that, and that was kind of a very sobering moment when you're
Yeah.
sitting with the bank signing paperwork, personally guaranteeing, $250,000 so you can go see if this drink thing's going to work out.
Wow. So, for example, when you bring on or when you have the competition money like that, do you bring someone on as a partner or do they count as an investor or is that just straight prize money?
That's just straight prize money, no strings attached. Prize money, give you the big check, then they give you a little
Amazing.
check, and you go deposit it, and that's it.
Wow. So, you mentioned some of these smaller grocery stores near you at the time. I was kind of curious through D2C, what does the shipping process look like since the drink contains milk?
Yeah, so it's actually shelf stable. You don't have to refrigerate it. And this was a critical part. And one of the reasons it took me a while to figure this out as a newcomer to the industry, because what you can do is everybody's familiar with like milk products, right? They're in the
Hmm.
refrigerator, maybe a 90-day shelf life max. We'll call that extended shelf life. Well, if you do a what's called low acid aseptic production, essentially they take milk or almond milk or any type of low acid liquid, which is kind of like a base liquid that will turn on you pretty quick if you just leave the raw ingredients mixed up. Think about any kind of like protein shake or milk product. If you just leave it on the counter, it's going to go back pretty quick. Well, for this product, they heat it to the level of steam, rapidly cool it within about 5 seconds, drop it into a sterile container and seal it. And then you have a 1 to 2 year shelf life, which is fantastic, right? Because
Yeah,
that
that's
really
amazing.
minimizes waste and it keeps the taste intact.
Got it. So, what are your main forms of marketing, would you say, then, for the drinks?
Really, it's been a lot of sampling and word of mouth. I mean, we've tried other
Hmm.
things. I mean, everybody does, you got to do the Facebook ads and other forms of Google ads and Amazon ads and things like that. And, you can see decent return there. But I think
Yeah.
in terms, when I look at our best markets, they're still in Texas and Louisiana, where I started the brand, was doing the earliest pushes and sampling myself in the stores. And we really have a really supportive, loyal customer base there that loves our product. They know the story. And a lot of that was just grassroots marketing. And people ask me, I had brand ask me the other day, how do you have such great signage in this central market, which is a small chain, 10 stores in Texas, but they just blow it out of the water with velocity. And that means like just how many bottles they sell out of the store. And I said, look, that's, we've been working with that store since the start of the company. So that's, 6, 7 years of hard work and nurturing those relationships in store. And I don't think there's a shortcut around that.
Yeah. So, from there, what would you say is your primary demographic then?
Yeah, we found that it skews pretty heavily female.
Okay.
Protein drinks are typically for guys, right? You think muscle milk, things like that are geared towards guys, or Ensure, stuff like that. That's for older people. Our product has really resonated with the female, mom or young professional that's busy. She's health conscious. She's eating Chipotle instead of McDonald's,
Hmm.
or making other healthier choices like that. And she wants something that's going to do more work for her and her beverage, right? She doesn't want extra sugar, but she wants something that's going to like fill her up and give her some type of benefit. And that's where we really won. And I think it's part branding and part taste. And those things have really resonated with women specifically.
For sure. So, from a consumer standpoint, what are the benefits nutrition wise then?
Yeah, so it starts with the protein and fiber, right? The protein's
Hmm.
got 20 grams of protein, which is about the same amount as a breasted chicken or a piece of fish, or a wheelbarrow full of peas. But essentially, it's going to fill you up. And the fibers, 4 grams of fiber from chicory root, that help fill you up. And it's only 130 calories, so it's not a ton of calories. And that's why we don't say it's a meal replacement per se, but we like to call it like a mini meal, more of a
Yeah.
breakfast or a snack. And it provides that satiation, so you can kind of stay a little bit full during the day. And then we actually have a caffeinated version as well, one that has a full cup of coffee in it, and that
Hmm.
has obviously an energy boost element to it. And then we're actually in the process of launching a whole new coffee line, that's going to be plant-based protein. It's got some zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D, as well as MCT oil, so it's keto and immunity boosting. And we've tagged that immunity coffee is what we're calling that. And that'll launch in the next couple of months here.
Amazing. So, that new line that you're about to launch, is that going to be bottled
It is,
based as well?
yeah, it's going to be bottled. There'll be three flavors of that: a vanilla, mocha, and a dark roast. And it will be in a powder form in those same three flavors as well.
Cool. Looking at Iconic today, what would you say separates your brand from competitors?
Great question, and I get it often, especially with retailers and potential customers and things like that.
Hmm.
The bar in the proteins drink category is set pretty low for taste. Most of these drinks taste like cement mix. You may be able to attest if you've tried anything out there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, or maybe they're so sweet they're nauseating or something like that. And that's unfortunate. For us, we focus on really high quality sourcing, non-GMO, clean label ingredients. But at the end of the day, taste has to come first. It has to taste good, or else people aren't going to keep drinking it. And our goal is to fundamentally change the human diet for the better. And so, in order to do that, we need to create tasty, accessible, healthy products. And I think, again, it comes down to taste, it comes down to brand. And those are the two big differentiators. Because look, somebody can copy our sourcing. They can say, oh, Iconic got their ingredients from here. They're high quality. They can rip us off there, and other brands have. But
Hmm.
for us, it comes down to just our brand and the taste of the product.
Amazing. What would you say is your top seller flavor wise then?
chocolate truffle, followed close number two by our cafe latte, which has the coffee in it. We call that Profi, protein coffee. But
Nice.
those are our top two flavors.
Got it. Well, I like to wrap up each episode with this. If you could share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, what would that be? Maybe something you've learned or regret? Just anything.
Be profitable. I was so focused on the just getting a product at the door, and I'm more of a big picture guy where it's like if you sell it, like eventually you'll be profitable. We've gotten there over time, but the challenge is like if you don't hit it soon enough, then you got to be reliant on other people, whether it be banks or investors or whoever. And I've spent a lot of the company's time, just pitching to people and raising money and figuring out how we're going to keep funding the business. And sometimes that's easy and sometimes that's hard.
Mhm.
But I think that there hasn't been enough of an emphasis, whether it be with tech startups or food and beverage startups, on the value of being profitable soon enough.
For sure. Well, Billy, thank you so much for joining me today. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Iconic at drinkiconic.com.
Thanks so much, Cameron.
Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of Starting Small. If you would, leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Also, follow Starting Small Pod on social platforms to keep up to date on future guests.